So last time we covered a lot about all the varied organisms in the world, pretty much everything except for one very important group, the chordates. We talked about body plans, we've talked about how they develop, we talked about different layers of of tissue. In this lecture, the goal is figure out the major terrestrial animal groups, some chordates, and show how they've altered the ecosystem a bit. Chordates are the last big group of organisms we haven't discussed, but we're going to get into them in significant depth. And then after we go through this, we're going to go into specific systems of one particular group of chordates, us. So all chordates have a notocord, a dorsal hollow nerve cord, pharyngeal slits, and a postanal tail. This is, I think this is a lancet. It's a very, very simple chordate. That notocord is a flexible hollow rod lying between the digestive system and a band of nerves that runs the length of it. So as far as the notocord goes, where is it? There it is. So we have the notocord here. You're going to have the neural canal and the neural tube, which is going to be, think about your backbone, right? There's this very narrow band running that will eventually become your backbone. There's a nerve cord. That nerve cord is a thick line of nerves. You've got a brain, right? You got to get the nerves from your brain down to the rest of your body and then extend out from there. So this is going to run the length of the animal, and it ends in a large nerve collection. For you, that's your brain. For other organisms, it's a ganglion. It's almost like just a little pack full of nerves, and that's it. Sort of a coordination center. You got pharyngeal slits. These are structures that open near the mouth that allow water to move through. Now remember, all chordates have this. Even you had this at some point in your life, which is kind of cool to think about. You had these pseudogills. In fish, these pharyngeal slits eventually develop into the gill system. In us, those pharyngeal slits disappear before you're born. Otherwise, you still breathe through them. And you've got a postanal tail. Of course, you know a lot of chordates have tails. In fact, all chordates have tails. Even us, we have tails, which is kind of weird to think about. We just keep them under our skin. If you look, your tailbone is literally when you fall and people are like, oh, I broke my tailbone. That's what you're breaking, your tail. Some people are born with their tails outside their body. I know, right? Kind of think about that, and you're like, weird. It moves. It's got nerves. But typically they have operations to correct that. Oh, actually, though, interesting story about removing tails. No, this is very interesting. Trust me, because I think it is. There was one patient they were very young, and their parents had their tail removed. Later in life, they wanted that tail. I know, right? Isn't that weird? Well, they detached. No, not detached. They wanted to have a tail. They held their parents accountable for removing their tail. Yeah, that one kid, right? What happened? As far as what happened, they're not going to reattach it. I mean, it's long gone. The parent, I think it's more of a conflict within the family that had nothing to do with the removal of the tail, but the kid wanted to get away from the parents. So there we go. So the chordates are divided into three broad groups. The cephalochordates, the urochordates, otherwise known as the tunicates, or the vertebrates. The cephalochordates are filter feeders, like this lancet. They bury themselves in the sand, and they filter water as it passes over their tentacles. So all you see of this organism are little tentacles waving. If you reached into the sand and extracted the whole thing, it's much, much deeper. But it's catching food, it's filtering things out. What does chordate translate to? You're talking about like the so chordate is a backbone. Yeah, head with a backbone. That's pretty much all they are. Tunicates, otherwise known as the Urochordates, look like sponges. Actually, they look sort of like hearts. But you would never think of these as anything related to us. However, if you look at their larval form, they've got cephalization, they've got a notocord, they've got a dorsal nerve cord, they've got a postanal tail. They got everything you need. So they're actually fairly closely related to us, which is weird thinking. And then, of course, you've got Vertebrata, which is us. And this is where we're really concentrating. It's all about having that backbone. Phylum Vertebrata has several characteristics that separates it from the rest of the chordates. It's got a vertebral column, a cranium, an endoskeleton, diverse internal organs, and a neural crest. Most of the cute, cuddly things that we keep as pets are vertebrates. The vertebral column is the backbone. So that notocord that's present in all chordates, in vertebrates, is replaced by a very, very hard interlocking skeleton. That interlocking column has a hollow cavity running all the way through it that allows nerves to pass through. In some vertebrates, this column is not bone, it's made out of cartilage. You've got a cranium. This is almost like a football helmet for your brain. Some chordates don't have a cranium, like the Urochordates, the Tunicates, which means there's nothing to protect their nerve clusters. So it's pretty much a really hard shell sitting there to protect your brain. They have an endoskeleton. That's a skeleton on the inside compared to an insect's exoskeleton. Typically, it's a living structure. Bones are alive. They're not just made of rocks or anything like that. And I know you're laughing at me for telling you that, but look, I'm amazed at what some students believe. One student yesterday was very surprised that rice was a living organism. I know, right? And some of you guys are surprised by that too, which is kind of scary. That's exactly. They think of consciousness. They don't think plants are alive, which was weird. It kind of threw me for a loop there. And they've got a neural crest. This neural crest are cells that build the skeleton, but they're also going to build other hard structures within the organism. So this is sort of the place where you originally your bones start growing from. And of course, inside all of these vertebrates, you're going to have wildly diverse internal organs that are going to be connected to each other in systems, and those systems are going to work interdependently with each other. In most organisms, in most vertebrates, these organs are highly, highly conserved. That means that in even the lowest of the organisms and the highest, they're about the same organs. What's inside of you is the same that's inside a fetal pig, is the same that's inside of a frog, is the same that's inside of a whale. It's all pretty much the same. That's why we can dissect something that's not a human to figure out how humans work.